Welcome friends, this is the 25th session on this course on manufacturing strategy. This is the end of almost 5 weeks of this course on manufacturing strategy, and in our last few sessions we discussed about various taxonomies of manufacturing strategy. The idea of taxonomy developed from American organizations. Roth and Miller were the first contributors in giving a very popular taxonomy in the form of caretakers, marketeers and innovators, which were later on validated by the studies of Dixon, and then further in year 2005 people came with an idea of developing taxonomies for country specific manufacturing organizations, and the most important taxonomy was for the Chinese manufacturing organizations, because very little was available about Chinese strategy of manufacturing. And when this Chinese strategies for manufacturing were available, people realized that it is no longer a low cost benefit availed by Chinese organizations, but apart from these low cost there are many other things which Chinese organizations developed over a period of time, and therefore even in that the first type of taxonomy was quality customizers, those who are able to produce different types of products and also maintaining the quality conformance. So, the point which I am trying to develop is that all across various taxonomies, various ideas of competing on manufacturing were primarily based on two key principles. One was the traditional view of manufacturing, which was related that how manufacturing can provide you low cost product, and as soon as we were talking of quality, we thought of providing products which are elite, which are exclusive, which are precious. So, that type of idea was attached with the quality. But when we started talking of a strategic role of manufacturing in the organization, we somehow tried to develop that type of capabilities where in manufacturing we are able to provide cost advantage as well as good quality. And therefore, in our last session we discussed the meaning of quality, that how quality can be defined from the user's point of view and how quality can be defined from the manufacturer's point of view. And in the last of that session we discussed a trialogy, that quality needs to be developed using the trialogy where one dimension is focus, another dimension is strategic, and the third dimension is the holisticness. So, in this session, starting with that trialogy, we will see that how the concept of total quality management has evolved and how this evolution of concept of total quality management is going to contribute in the world class manufacturing or manufacturing excellence. So, let us first see that what is that trilogy which we discussed almost in the end of our previous session, that there are three important dimensions. One is the focus, that what is the meaning of focus, that we will like to discuss today. Then quality can provide you a strategic advantage. So, how quality can provide you a strategic advantage, and then we expect the all comprehensiveness, the holisticness in the use of quality principles, and that is very close to the idea of this session, that is total quality management. Now, let us see, when I say that we need to have a focused vision for the quality. So, what do I mean by this focused vision? Now, focus is required in quality with respect to targeting specific market segments, that for a particular segment what type of characteristics are required. Here I do not mean that you have a market segment on the basis of age, that this is a market segment of young children, this is a market segment of college going students, this is a market segment of adults, no, like that. It has to be on a very specific quality characteristics. In our previous sessions we discussed about performance and features. So, now what are that performance attributes, what are that feature attributes. So, in some cases my performance expectation is, if I am talking of a laser printer, so there can be a market which is let us say my domestic market. If I am using a printer for my home purpose, I am satisfied with a printing speed of 10 pages per minute. But if I am using a printer in a newspaper agency, here I may like to have a printing speed of somewhere like 32 pages per minute. Now, there is a clear cut division on the basis of performance attribute for these two different markets. So, you need to understand that what are the specific market segments you are targeting. If you are targeting this market where the speed requirement is very low, you will develop a different type of quality attributes. The other market where the speed requirement is significantly high, you will have a different type of quality attributes in that product. Now, once you have specific market segments, the second point is related to that. You can concentrate on specific customer requirements. When you know that I am going for domestic users or heavy duty users. So, based on whether I am going to serve the domestic customers or heavy duty printers, I will specifically determine that what are the expectations, what are the requirements of those market segments. So, this 10 pages per minute or 32 pages per minute is a result of understanding my market segments, and therefore, I determine that what are the requirements of that market segment. Then the third key aspect on which I will focus, that what specific areas of product and process improvements are required. I need to focus that yes, for achieving these customer requirements, what specific product and process improvements are necessary in my products. Maybe I am targeting this heavy duty customer, and heavy duty customer expects a very fast rate of printing because he needs to print in bulk, and therefore, somehow I need to have the mechanism in my printer where heavy printing or quick printing is possible. Maybe in that case DPI may be low because he wants quick prints. So, DPI may be low. So, I can think of a trade off that I can reduce the DPI and I can increase the printing speed. So, this type of combination, that dots per square inch can be reduced so that my printing speed can be improved. So, that is a very specific area of product improvement. Similarly, process improvements. If there is too much of variation, we will need to do some kind of process improvements to reduce those variations. So, I need to see my entire process, and in that entire process I need to see where are scope of improvement, and we will discuss about this particular aspect of process improvement in our this session as well as in our next session also, that a specific area of process improvement is very important thing in developing or in overall aspects of quality management. It is quite possible that the reason of poor quality may not be your production process, it may be in your human resource department, it may be in your purchase department. You are not able to procure right kind of raw material, and therefore, more and more products are getting failed in the production stage, or there is increased variation in the output because of poor quality of input. If you are purchasing, let us say, HR coil, hot rolled coil, and there is a good amount of variation in the thickness of that HR coil, and now when you are converting that HR coil into CR coil, cold rolled coil, so to some extent you can eliminate those variations, but if the input variations are too much, it will be difficult for you to eliminate all those variations in your CR coil. So obviously there will be more variation in the output of this kind of process. So even if you have best of the best process, but because your input is not very appropriate, output will also be affected because of it. So we need to see whether we require process improvement in actual production process, or there may be lot of allied activities in which improvement may help us in getting the right kind of output. So that is another important area when I am talking of focus. So we need to have a specific focus on the areas of improvement. Then another important thing when we talk of focus, that we may have focused plant areas for specific customers or products. Now in organizations we have a system of determining our key account holders. We determine our key account holders. The key account holder is a term which is used to identify your important customers. Organization may serve large number of customers, but out of those large number of customers, few customers are important customers. They are giving maximum business to you, and therefore those key account holders need a special kind of attention. You need a special focus on their requirements. It is a very simple thing to understand. If one customer giving you, let us say, a business of 30% of your overall revenue, and another customer is giving you a business of just 2% of your overall business. So if I prioritize my customers, on an ideal side all customers are equal, I need to understand requirement of all my customers, but on the practical side, on the side of doing management, it is important to prioritize the customers, and in prioritizing the customer, obviously those customers who are giving me more business, they will come first in that ranking, and those who are giving less business will go lower positions in that ranking. So therefore those customers who are my key account holders, I need to have specific attention. I need to give a specific product, a specific requirements for those customers, and for that purpose maybe within my plant I can give some specific location where only the products related to those specific customers are made, or I may depute few personals to continuously interact with those customers. Like for an example, I purchase one HP computer, and though HP provides me after sale services whenever I get a trouble, whenever there is a problem in my computer, I can go to service center of HP in my city. On the other hand, my institute also purchases HP computer, but every year my institute purchases maybe around 500 HP computers, and because the institute purchases those computers in such a large volume that HP deputes a specific service engineer 24/7 to my campus to fulfill the requirement of our institute only. So, that is the meaning of key account holder, and you require a specific attention, you require a specific focus on the requirements of your key account holders. And at the same time you also need to keep focus that how quickly you can accommodate, how quickly you can change your product and processes to meet the requirement of these key account holders. HP may not be like to serve my changing requirements immediately, but HP will certainly like to serve the requirements of my institute, because my institute is a key account holder for the company. So, company gives more priority, more focus on the changing requirements of the key account holder. So, these are the different dimensions of focus which starts with understanding the market segment, their requirements, you develop some specific arrangement for your key account holders, you can depute personals for your key account holders, or you can create some kind of space, you can make a factory within a factory for your key account holders. So, these are the part of focus in that quality triology. Then the second important thing is strategy. So, one thing was the related to focus, the second important thing is related to strategy. Now, when I talk of strategy in that quality triology, so strategic importance to quality is in terms of that we need top management involvement and commitment. Now, this is very important thing. This whole idea of quality is impossible without top management commitment and involvement. We discussed in our previous session about the traditional view of the quality and the enlightened view of quality. Now, in the traditional view of quality, the quality was considered to a low level activity. Those who are working at the shop floor, they were responsible for producing quality products. So, workers, machinists, supervisors, inspectors, they were primarily responsible for quality products. So, it was considered a low level activity which is to be dealt with the front line executives in the organization. But now in the enlightened view of quality, it is more involvement of your top management. Without proper commitment, without proper involvement of the top management of the organization, quality related initiatives are impossible. So, strategic role of quality is only possible when top management is involved, top management is committed for the organization wide quality revolution. So, that is one very important thing. And then another important thing in terms of strategic involvement of quality is that you need to have ongoing improvement process. The quality management related initiatives are not project kind of activities, rather these are ongoing, these are regular activities in the organization. You can never be perfect, and therefore, quality related initiatives require consistency, they require the continuity all the time, you cannot break it, and therefore, how to develop that type of commitment where you can continuously focus on the quality related improvement activities, and if you can do that, you can take the advantage of quality for the strategic purpose. So, these are the two important things. One is the involvement of the top management, the commitment of the top management, and second is that it has to be a ongoing process, it has to be a continuous process of improvement, and therefore, we can also say that sometime we understand that manufacturing is a simply by some hook and crook, you want to achieve just cost reduction. that how you can reduce cost, but if a strategic role is involved, we need to change this mindset from cost reduction quick fix approach to the continuous improvement kind of approach. So, if we can do these two things, we can take the advantage of quality for the strategic purpose. And now coming to the third aspect, that is the holisticness, which I said is very close to total quality management. Now, what this holisticness says? It says that everybody must be involved in continuous improvement in every area and at all levels of the firm. So, as I was saying just that earlier, the quality was considered to be a low level activity. It was considered to be more related to frontline executives. So, if I see different levels of management in an organization, so this is the top level, this is middle level, and this is frontline executives, those who are actually responsible for execution of the task. So, initially quality was more or less responsibility of these people, but when I say the holistic approach of quality, so now the quality is applicable, all three stages are responsible. And just now in the strategic aspect of quality, we discussed that your top management commitment is very important. And when I am saying the holistic approach of quality, I am saying that it is not only top, not only front, but top, middle and front, all three levels, all the people in the organization are responsible for producing the quality products. So, that is about the holisticness. And if I further extend this idea, so it is not in your organization, this is you, but nowadays we have extended the idea of quality or holisticness idea of quality to my customer side. These are my distributors and these are my suppliers. So, I want to include my suppliers as well as my distributors in understanding my commitment towards quality. So, I am not limited to my organization, it is not intra-organization holisticness, rather it is inter-organization holisticness. So, that is the overall approach, that is the overall idea of this quality trilogy, where we have three different dimensions, and we discuss that how we can achieve focus, how we can achieve strategic role, and how to have the holisticness. And based on this, we now come to discuss this particular aspect, that how over a period of time these changes have taken place in the idea of quality and their related activities. Now, when I talk of quality, so initially in the ancient time, when manufacturing activities started, maybe in the organized form or unorganized form. So, initial idea of manufacturing quality was related with inspection. So, somebody is producing the product, and at the end of your product line there is an inspector, and inspector was doing the sorting of the products, grading of the products, and maybe some corrective actions were also taken. So, these are OK product, these are not OK product, these are grade A product, these are grade B product, and accordingly prices were fixed, that grade A product are good quality, grade B products are slightly inferior. So, prices of grade B are slightly lower. So, that type of system was there initially for the quality. So, those who were responsible for making the quality, they were different people, those who were producing the products, they were different people, and those who were actually deciding whether it is a quality product or not a quality product, they were different people, they were the inspectors. So, initially this was the idea of quality, that is inspection. After inspection came the second time, that is the quality control. So, after inspection we moved to this stage of quality, that is quality control. Now, during this stage we developed some quality manuals, we developed some kind of testing facilities, and it was beginning of use of statistics in quality control. So, we thought that quality can be controlled during the production stage itself. So, quality became the part of process itself, not after the process. So, that is the fundamental shift from inspection to quality control. Inspection was taking place once the entire product was manufactured, but now during the manufacturing stage, how you can control the quality, that is the idea of quality control. Then improving further, we move to stage of quality assurance. Now, in quality assurance, we started giving lot of emphasis to statistical process controls, and at the same time third party approval started. We started inviting some other organizations to approve our processes, and this became that if I am a producer, you are my customer. So, on mutual agreement, we will invite some third party which can certify, which can assure you as a customer that yes, this manufacturer is using the appropriate kind of process to manufacture your or to deliver your products. So, this system of quality assurance, auditing of quality products is started, and then we started another approach. We came to that era where we thought that quality is not simply limited to manufacturing function or the production function, rather we moved for company wide quality control. So, in all areas, whether it is after sales, whether it is purchase, whether it is maintenance, whether it is human resource, in all areas of organization, we started working, we started thinking of quality control. So, this became the starting point for the concepts like total quality management, which is based on continuous improvement, involvement of suppliers, involvement of your distributors, and it is basically focusing on the teamwork and your employee involvement. So, these are the pillars of success of total quality management. If I want to have TQM in my organization, I will like to have a teamwork, empowered employees. I want to integrate with my suppliers on the one side and with my distributors on the other side, and with this I will continuously like to have a system of improvement in the organization. As when we were discussing about strategic role of quality, we discussed that the top management of the organization plays a very important role. So, in the case of TQM also, TQM we discussed that the whole organization, people at different level from top to frontline executives are involved in delivering a quality product to the customer, and this idea is only possible. It is a top down approach from one side and it is bottom up approach from other side. Now, right now I am discussing the top down approach of total quality management, and when I am saying the top down approach, it starts with the commitment, it starts with the involvement of senior management in doing the total quality management. Now, in that there are certain responsibility of top management to achieve TQM in the organization. So, they have to establish an organization, they need to inculcate this idea, this philosophy of quality in the organization. They need to identify what customers are doing, what customers are changing with respect to the various things happening in the environment, and what your competitors are doing to achieve those new requirements of the customers, and accordingly you also can anticipate some of the needs of your customer, because we are talking of using manufacturing for our competitive advantage. So, this perception of needs, this anticipation of needs is also very important element for top management. Then you also need to assess the ability of the organization to meet these requirements in limited resources. One of the aspect of TQM which is not much discussed is that also that you can fulfill the requirement of customers, but how to fulfill those requirements with available resources or with economically, how can you fulfill the requirements of the customer, that is one aspect of TQM which is not much discussed in our literature related to TQM or manufacturing excellence, but that is a very important thing about TQM, how you achieve requirements of customer with available or in the most economical manner. So, that also is a important thing. Then you need to see that how to achieve standard performance, how to improve the efficiency, how to concentrate on the preparation rather than detection. So, we want to use this TQM approach for more process strengthening, so that we do not require the detection. So, that is another important thing, that we do lot of investment for detecting the faults, rather TQM says that develop the process strength, develop the capability of your processes, so that you can minimize your overall cost of quality. And that is very true, that those organizations where TQM is successfully implemented, they are able to reduce their cost of quality significantly because of this change in approach from detection to preparation. Then you need to do lot of training and education of your employees for the quality improvement, and then you need to continuously review your quality management system and see where is the scope of improvement. So, that is the important responsibility of senior management in the TQM related activity. Now, finally, if I see the implementation of TQM in my organization, so TQM can be implemented, and the different dimensions which can help us in understanding the TQM implementation, it starts with that understanding customers as the main contributor for organization success. So, the important aspect of TQM is how well you are able to understand your customer. Before this TQM approach, before this idea, the input to production was coming from marketing. So, marketing understands the customer and marketing provides the input to the production department. Now, in this case of TQM approach, customer provides input to both marketing and production, and then with the ideas like concurrent engineering, both these departments, both these functional areas develop this idea whether we are able to understand customer correctly or not. So, the most important thing is understanding the customer. Then another important point which we are continuously emphasizing is the commitment of top management and commitment to understand the role of quality in serving the customer. Then another important thing, and particularly from Indian organizations point of view, I will like to say that many of us do not know what is the benefit of implementing this type of TQM approach. So, we need to be very careful, or we need to do lot of education and training, create awareness of implementing TQM, that it is not simply a new type of technique, but how organization is going to take benefit out of TQM implementation. So, that is also an essential dimension of TQM success. Then what is the philosophy? It is not simply some tools and techniques. TQM is not simply tools and techniques, it is mindset, it is a philosophy, and how to do work with TQM philosophy, that is again a very important agenda in our education and training of employees, that we should be able to change their mindset. And further important element is improvement activities are not one time activity, it is a regular activity. So, understanding the importance of continuous improvement. So, this continuous word is very important here, that it is a ongoing process forever, as long as we are in organization, and I can say up to that in our life also we need to continuously improve. You cannot be stagnated, and therefore, even our ancient scriptures say charai vaiti, it means we need to continuously move forward, and that is what the idea of TQM says, that you have to continuously go on for the improvement. And finally, just for the sake of how to implement it, we need to understand the procedural aspects of TQM implementation, that what are the manuals, what are the tools, what are the checklists, what are the formats you need to use for implementing TQM in your organization. So, for effective TQM implementation, these are the 6 different types of essential roles, 6 different types of essential dimensions which organization need to pay focus on, and with that if we implement TQM, it will help us in achieving the manufacturing excellence. So, with this we come to end of this session. Thank you very much.